Welcome back to the One Line Away podcast. I'm your co-host, Tyler Weber.
And this is Cassie Weber. And in today's episode, we're going to be going over how you can support someone going through infertility. Our last episode on mental health was definitely one of our hardest and most in-depth that we've gone on any of the topics so far in our episodes. We wanted to shift this next episode and lighten it up just ever so slightly, kind of as a continuation on how we've supported and how other people have supported us during our infertility journey. And we also wanted to kind of towards one of our last topics of the episode today will be how you as the listener can maybe support someone that you know that's going through their fertility walk or their infertility struggles. The thing about infertility is that it doesn't always mean that you've experienced loss. How can we or how can you support all the ways of this walk?
So we wanted to start and share how we have supported each other.
Establishing trust for us was obviously something that we had and have continued to have from just our marriage, our relationship. But really where this path started was with our topic, pregnancy loss. The story is pretty wild. We were at a very close friend of Tyler's wedding. I was in a ton of pain that day, and Tyler was actually already in the location, which was about an hour and a half away from me, with the wedding party. And I just wanted to get myself together. I obviously didn't know what was going on or the severity of what was going on yet. I was technically called a slow rupture. And so I just was going through the motions, and I just wanted so badly to get to him and to get to this wedding, because this wedding was something that was really important to be present at. So I get there. I got through the ceremony, and not that much longer into the reception, it didn't take long for me to grab Tyler, to find Tyler and say something's very wrong. And how I knew that was I had tried to go to the restroom just as you normally would, and I could not stand up. Like the muscles in my abdomen were broken. Like I just could not stand up. And I said a little prayer to get me to Tyler, and it felt like forever that I sat on that toilet trying to get up, to stand up. And once I did and I got to Tyler, it was the look in my eye. I looked at Tyler and I was like, something is very wrong and I'm very scared. And that point to the drive, which we were an hour and a half away from home. So Tyler drove as quickly as he could to get to where we needed to go. I just wanted to make a point that in that moment, this was something very important to be at and be present at. And that trust that we had from that moment of nothing else matters right now but me and what was going on. We had no clue what was going on. So I think that was somewhere that trust really dove deep.
Yeah, I remember it was right when like the dancing was starting. So it was when you came up to me and said that, I was just like, she's not going to want to leave right in the middle of when it gets, you're sitting down a lot during like the reception and the ceremony and stuff. Mm-hmm. And right as the party, I guess you could say, it was getting like started, she came up to me and said that, and I was just like, okay, like this isn't a joke.
Yeah.
Or this isn't like I never thought it was a joke, but this isn't like, hey, I just want to leave. This is like, oh, yeah, we need to go. So for me, during that topic and through the whole length of it, there was a lot of different ways for me to support you, right? There was us leaving that. During the surgery, there was a lot of things that, like, I ran home and did a whole bunch of like listed things. During the next days was just kind of always just there. I think I called off to work even for a few of it too. And then from there, I kind of just want to go into like losses, that first loss, obviously the ectopic being a loss. Again, I tried to support in ways that I could and thought I knew how. I mean, we could go into the IUI and the IVF and those ways I supported, and those losses. I mean, the IVF losses were a little bit different for me, but the ways that I supported you in those ways were all different, right? It's not, there was no the exact same thing that I did every single time because they were all just,
They weren't like, it was routine, but it was hard to be routine
yeah.
with.
Because the next one, the next loss, and the next step that we would try was
different.
It wasn't the same as the other ones.
Yeah,
right? They all hurt different. So
yeah, I think showing up may look different from like your side and my side of it. I feel like how you showed up for me was kind of a progression of being more. You're seeing me at my worst in a lot of this journey, right? And being as unconditional as you've been and patient. And I mean, there's so many words of affirmation that I could pour to you, but I think the big thing about this is showing up. Supporting me is by showing up however you could and you did and you would. It's hard to reason with this part, which is I feel that as a husband and as a partner and as the man that you are, you would and have done everything that you can or do to support my dreams outside and inside of this journey. You will do whatever it takes to make me happy or to put efforts into making our dreams come true, my dreams come true. And I can definitely say strongly that you have always shown up for me in that way and made sure that I was taken care of in all ways. And so, yeah, I think showing up, you've definitely done that. And I hope on the other end, I hope that I've been able to show up for you and not to fill your mouth, but there has been many times where you've been very hard on yourself. I'm the same way, obviously. And I have had to get after you and like snap you out of it because there's been times where we've just been so terrible to ourselves. And I hope that, my showing up for you has been like, reassuring you that you are doing the best that you can do and you are as worth as you deserve to be known for.
As we talked about in previous episodes, that you were able to recognize that I was hurting, right? And it wasn't, maybe it went a little longer just because I didn't say anything about it, but you were able to realize that, like specifically that story that we told where you wanted to start another process of going through like IVF or whatever it was, and I shot it down really quick, and I think you realized, oh, right, and then it
pushed forward.
Yeah, and the tables kind of turned of saying, okay, well, I need to support him now.
Yeah,
and I thought
pump the brakes.
Yeah,
yeah,
and like you said, during that time, like you gave me self-esteem back. Like there was a lot of self-confidence issues that I was having.
Yeah,
and it did. You snap me out of it sometimes.
Yeah, we are definitely hard lovers.
Yeah,
it's not always pretty, but we do it in the most like. It always is out of love because we know each other best now. Like we know each other best, so it's like we know what we need or what each other needs, even if it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Being 100% in has been. I mean, you've probably been 300% in rather than the 100. Something that has been one of the biggest supports is he's always been the type to do the rituals before a treatment or after a fertility treatment, the outfits you would wear, the socks, the pineapple trunks. You have always been, 100, 1000% in on just like supporting the journey, supporting the weird, quirky things that you deal with as going through your fertility journey. You're amazing for that because I don't know, I don't want this to come off wrong, but not a lot of guys or dudes would let down their pride enough to just be there. As time went on in the past, definitely the past year, I would say, of arguably one of the hardest years that we've been walked through. Being fully attentive has been something that I feel like we've both really excelled in, because we've just needed each other more than ever before. It feels like it feels like that threshold just keeps expanding, but somehow we've been able to meet with each other in that way. If that's we're more clingy or we're more selfish with time with each other, I just think that the best support that has come with the past year has been being fully attentive to me.
So now let's move into how others have supported us.
If you are listening to this and you feel like some of these things we mentioned are you, they probably are, but there has been a overwhelming amount of support in our journey. And that's why I wanted to do this video, is especially with our last video being as heavy as it was. This part is now like, I want to roar the support that we have gotten, even when it's been such a hard journey. This is something that I don't know if I could give back in a way of just silently shouting out to some of these people in our lives. This is the time to do it. Reaching out is such a simple way. Text messages are so easy. They're readily at our fingertips. And reaching out, just knowing that we're on someone's heart, has been really cool and just really appreciated. What I like to call is all of our love notes that we've received over these years. Those have meant so much. I like to call them love notes because it feels like it's a outpour of someone really putting their emotions aside and just putting themselves in your shoes for that moment, for that letter, for that handwritten letter or that message on Instagram or text message. It means so much. It maybe doesn't seem like much, but it means everything. Mm-hmm. It really does. Someone at the time in our life had secretly funded some money for us after one of our losses, and that was to help with medical bills, meals, comfort items, and that was definitely to this day one of the coolest things that we've experienced. If you've listened to some of my previous episodes, I've talked a lot about, or I've mentioned how acupuncture has been something extremely important for my mental health. And we've been gifted sessions from people in our lives. And that's something that's it's very personal. When you're prayed for and it's out of genuine and sincere emotion and heart, that definitely,
I mean, as we've talked about, it makes us feel seen and it makes us feel heard. And I mean, there's been numerous times where people have asked to pray over us, which is, it's an awesome feeling to have.
Yeah, as we've talked about, faith is something definitely part of our personal journey. And there's been times where people have thrown out like, oh, I'm praying for you, or like sending you prayers. And though those things can be genuine, when you're in the flesh with someone and they're holding you and you're touching that person, it makes you really feel like you are one with God. Mm-hmm. And it's like that ears, like it just feels like it's right there. Mm-hmm. And he's right there listening. So that's a very special thing. Another way that people have served us have been by dropping off meals or, swinging by coffee. Those things are small but very mighty. Those things are very helpful, especially the meals came into play after, specifically after losses, when your brain doesn't work and your body hurts, and like household care and help is very, very like.
After that topic was a big one.
Yeah. It's just very helpful. Mm-hmm. It's very realistic, but very helpful. Another time, someone had gifted like our house being cleaned, and that was after our ectopic loss. And I will never forget these things. Now, as far as like physical things, there's been, there's flowers, plants, words of affirmations, jewelry. Another unique one was actually a heating pad. So, I mean, I still use that to this day. That was really nice. There's this thing called a warmie. It's like a little heated teddy bear, and they have like so many different like types. My mom had given me that, and that was a very comforting gift. There's been mementos that we've received that have been specific to each of those losses. My sister is our artistic director. She's been the behind the scenes of the logo, the artwork, the quotes,
some of the posts,
and it's a huge way, that we've been supported. And I know with certain things along the way, I know that accepting, here's something that I've been learning is, and this has been more of a recent take on this, but I am so much more willing to accept support now. I feel in my heart that the people that are reaching out or wanting to support us in the way that they want to support us, it only feels right to accept that. To us, it's been a continuation of being heard and being seen and feeling like we haven't been forgotten years later.
The biggest way that I was supported was asking questions. I feel like kind of the main reason why we're doing this podcast is for me to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's like a big support for me was people reaching out. And then, you know, if I said something along the lines of, oh, now we're doing IVF, they asked questions about it. And then I got to explain it and kind of just like talk about it. That was the biggest thing. I mean, I had multiple people reach out to me and multiple guys, multiple just people in general. And one of the big things that helped me the most was being able to just talk about it and being able to just discuss it, you know, and then getting the question, like, how are you feeling was a big thing.
Yeah.
I didn't get that a lot. A lot of it was just, how's Cassandra feeling? Is she feeling all right? Is everything good? Blah, blah, blah. And it was more, I never really got the, hey, like, how are you? I mean, I can't blame a guy coming up and saying like, hey man, like what happened? And then I tell him and he's just like blank face. Because it happens a lot. I was having a conversation with someone the other day about it. How like guys just don't fully understand everything about it. Which I mean, like if you don't go through it, I get it. But when they started asking questions and started wanting to know more, like I could probably explain a lot of things to people regarding it, right? In simple guide terms of what happened, what during an ectopic pregnancy, like why was it an emergency surgery, or why is like what is IVF, like how did you guys do that, what is IUI, like what is everything about that. I can run them through the steps of everything that we went through, and I like doing that. It sheds light on it. It sheds light on everything that's going on and kind of what we've been through, so that people aren't just like, well, what have you done? You know, like what does the 3.5 years look like? There's all these steps that we've been through that they can be like, oh wow, you know, in guy terms, they can be like, that's crazy. It's terrible, man. Like, so there's a select few that I can definitely reach out to and like open up more about what's going on and how I've been feeling. And yeah, I had a crappy day, you know, or I, you know, just like, it's been good. Like we've been fine, kind of go along those terms. But there's a select few. There's just like just a couple people that I can reach out to directly and kind of just go more about that and dive deeper into it.
Like the lows.
But yeah, but I think that was more through like the therapy session of it. I'm so happy we're bringing this podcast and like making this podcast alive. Dude, I'm going exactly through what you're talking about right now, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you reach out to us and just say, hey, like, this is exactly what I'm going through, I'm like, I get it, man.
Let's talk.
Like, let's talk. I just know how it felt because you don't get asked questions.
Yeah.
You don't get, you know, a majority of the time when I was with very close people to us, it was just, how are you? How are you? How are you? Which is fine, right? It's her body. Like she's going through everything. But during that last part of IVF and all the steps and, you know, just the grueling process of it, it was tough. I was like, man, I wish someone would just ask, you know?
Yeah. It's just
and like, it's like you asked all the time because you were like, how are you? Yeah. but it's like I didn't want to put, you were already going through everything. I didn't want to just be like, let me tell you. Like, could you imagine trying to take on that load while
there's been only a few times where we have been at the same low at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that part is so hard to get through. And so it's one of those things where we've always had this like saying together of like, when I'm low, you need to be at least a little bit higher than I am, or when you're low, I need to be a little bit higher. That way we can be that support in the way that we need to, rather than when we're both at ground or at rock bottom and nothing really good happens at that point. But I definitely feel like in the ways that we've been supported, this is definitely one of our ways that we want to pay it forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just a big help because when I went through it, I was just like, man, like, you don't hear about this kind of stuff from a guy's perspective. Mm-hmm. And you don't hear about like, oh, they're going through the trenches, or they're just down in the dumps. And I mean, if I know a lot of people ask me if I was all right, but what am I going to do? Just overload them and be like, wow, since you asked, like, here's a dump truck full of stuff, like, it was just like one of those things where I in turn, I did choose to bottle it up, but I know there was outlets that I could go to, but I just didn't know how much to get off my chest with it, or how much to spring on someone like that.
How can we, or how can you, either listening or watching this, or maybe someone who is going through infertility or walking through different trials of their fertility journey, how can we show support? How can you show support? There's, hopefully I don't overlap too much, but I definitely wanted to, not that this is textbook or handbook what you need to do or have to do, but I know that there's been times where people have wanted guidance on how they could support us. I do want to reiterate that support doesn't mean here's my checkbook. Support can look like so much more than that. And it doesn't have to cost you a lot. It doesn't have to cost you anything. Finding a way to validate or bring validation to that person is a great start. Being sensitive to triggers. Now, you're not going to know everyone's triggers, but there is a general sensitivity that you can have to someone that's going through this, where this really matters. Asking questions is another really good one. I think there's nothing better than allowing that person, let's say it's us, allowing us to educate you. That way you feel like you have a better grasp of how you can support them or talk to them. I think that that's a really good way to navigate. Education is selective. You have to want to learn what this world or what this community entails, or what that person's journey looks like. And so I think definitely fertility education is so crucial and can take you so far with that person or that couple that's going through something like this. Being present, not just in the beginning of someone's journey, or not just right after they've had a loss of some sort, but being present continuously goes so far. I know for me, the things that things that have hurt me or felt hard to work out in my head of why I was feeling upset or forgotten or alone is just feeling like I'm only relevant to reach out to when I'm going through a loss, or being vocal enough to know that, hey, we're not doing well. I think something that you can do is to continuously check in on those people that are going through this, because that will make them feel seen in such a huge and large way. And it's that simple. Whether that's sending them a text or sending them a Pinterest quote or an Instagram story that you share, or a post from social media that you send to them in their DMs that resonates with you or with them, even if it's similar or not. Those things can definitely just bring that person just a little bit of comfort. Something that I like to call non-committal text messages are also really nice. You could start it out with being like, hey, I don't expect a reply from you, but I just wanted to reach out to see how you're doing. Or, hey, I saw this sign or I saw this post the other day and it made me think of you. And I just wanted to let you know that, I see you and I haven't forgotten the journey you're in. And I'm here and I support you and I love you. That's another great one. Being understanding with things like pregnancies, events surrounding pregnancies, events around children, things that could trigger someone's traumas that they've gone through or things that they're struggling currently with. Being sensitive and understanding towards that and being unconditional towards them is maybe one of the most important things that you can do to support someone. I think that it's important on the side of the people that are going through infertility is that, like, people don't owe you or they don't owe us private information. But the big but to this is there's been a handful of couples in our life that we are definitely very close to, that there's been enough of a heart or enough care and concern for us that they have done things like this. There's a couple examples. One being they reach out to you before their pregnancy announcement to let you know what's coming and to allow you to sit in that no matter how that looks. Another one is reaching out to someone about a baby shower or a gender reveal and saying to them, you are as important as everyone else in our life to be a part of what we're celebrating. However, we understand that the things that you're going through or that this event may be very triggering for you, and we don't expect you to come based on that alone. Of course, we would love you to be there, but we want you to know that our hearts will not change towards you if you choose to sit this one out. Mm-hmm. That is one of the biggest ways. Those examples are some ways that you can support a couple going through infertility in large ways. Mm-hmm.
So before we go, we just wanted to make a point again that through all the support that we've received, none of it will ever be forgotten. We are forever grateful for any person that has reached out to us or done anything for us. We want to say thank you again from the bottom of our hearts.
As we filled out our outline on this episode, it was an overwhelming emotion of all of the ways people have supported us.
Yep.
And large or small, they've all felt large. Mm-hmm. We know we didn't give a full picture of the ways that everyone in our life have supported us. We wanted to, just based on where we're at today, to go over some of the ways that people have been there for us. And maybe that's going to give someone listening to this or watching this an idea or direction or a sense of appreciation. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this part is so important. And I hope that we did this episode well. I know that we missed a lot, mm-hmm. but we hope that we could give somewhat of a picture of how great people in your life can impact your journey through this. And definitely wanted to make this one a lighter one and one of give thanks, mm-hmm. back to the people that have showed the way that you can really help people or a couple navigating through this.
Thanks for listening to this episode. We'll see you next week.